The McCuddies aren't the only ones to see a woman in white. Such an apparition has been spotted in the northern part of the county at the Homer Cemetery. A woman in white with blonde hair blowing in the wind sat at the grave of a soldier. She has a sketch pad and she would be drawing. Another woman in white, like Mrs. Baylor's ghost, chose to haunt a stately home. Harmony Hall, as it is called, is located on the Clarksville Road, not far from Ed's Barbecue. It was built by Benjamin Keene Tully. He came from a long line of musicians and built a home with amazing acoustics. Tully's son, Henry, was known for raising fine horses. During the Civil War, Union troops heard of Henry's fine racehorses and sought to confiscate them. Henry had received word soldiers were coming, so he hid the horses, as well as himself, in a cave close to the house. The family silver and a prize-winning quilt were hidden in the garden. The soldiers, upset over the missing horse, demanded to know the location of the animals. They burned the tablecloth off the table and threatened more damage. Henry's pregnant wife, Nancy, and 2 daughters, Carrie and Kate, were locked out of the second-story veranda and would not let out until they gave the location of the horses. Guards stayed posted in front of the mansion. The Tullys were patient people. They waited until the guards fell asleep. They scalded down a pillar and raced to the secret cave for safety. And when the guards discovered the Tullys had escaped, they made a fruitless search of the land, but were unable to find the cave, even though Kate had developed a cough. The troops stayed at Harmony Hall for a few more days. Another company arrived, and it appeared they had wounded with them, and by judging the moans. Nancy thought she heard a woman crying. At night, the Tullys heard a man screaming. Once his screams stopped and the woman's began. The troops eventually left. The Tullys had stayed in the cave, even weathering through a rainstorm, surviving on what food they had on them and what neighbors brought to them. The family returned to the home. They found Harmony Hill disarrayed. They were most bothered by the bloodstains on the hardwood floor. They worked hard to get the house back in order and scrubbed harder on the bloodstains. And when they thought all the stains had been removed, they held a horse race which drew all the neighbors. However, during the next rainstorm, the bloodstains returned. They would only appear when there was a rainstorm. Kate's cough worsened. She became pale and coughed up blood. Because of the war, Henry was unable to find a doctor. They feared the girl wouldn't survive the night. Mrs. Tully stayed close to her daughter's bedside. At midnight, Kate asked her who was the woman in white who stepped into the room. She couldn't describe the woman's face because the hair had obstructed it. Mrs. Tully saw no one else in the room and thought her daughter had become delirious. Still, throughout the early morning, she did feel sometimes the presence of someone else in the room. The sun rose and the color returned to Kate's skin. The girl had stopped coughing and was eager to go outside and play. She told her sister about the woman in white who sat by her bed, singing to her and caressing her hair. From that moment on, whenever a child is sick at Harmony Hall, a woman in white appears to the child to nurse him or her back to health.